Hello. Welcome back to Making Lists. It's what we do. Uh, so, okay, I'll make this brief. We have been working on, you know, are the choices that students make when they're making something in storytelling. So we have this flowchart process, a binary kind of approach to a project we're calling Code of Creativity. And the idea is, again, step by step, taking kids through that. And so advisory members have been helping out with what choices should we be thinking about step by step through the process. Well, people have been giving me information, but it's kind of coming together slowly. And I don't feel it'll be ready for the fall to fully be detailed enough to kind of roll with it. But I want to keep working on it. But here's another way to think about it. Take a look at this document. Now, the former students and current students are probably familiar with this if they're in the film class, but this is something we called film boot camp. And what it is, over on the side here, you can see the director is responsible in pre-production for these things. If it usually starts with a verb, so they need to do this thing. If it's all uppercase and bold, it's a product or something they need to create or generate. And these numbers are the steps that we go through in creating a film. So the idea behind this document was, what are all the steps to make a movie? And similar to what we've been thinking about with this flowchart process, but this is just another way to approach it. And I think this will be more constructive to get us to where we need to go. For instance, there's a lot you need to know about audience, genre, and influences, etc. And that will be in the flowchart with more details of what the options are for genres. What are film genres? So that won't live here. This just means that the student's going to go investigate, figure this out, and make a choice. The other resources we have for class are going to be listed over here. So for instance, where do they go get the resource that helps them understand what the choices are for this? Over here. This column has a link or a recommendation or a resource that's already in the class or online that helps them look at what the options are for the big bold statement here. So what I want to do is, I'll finish showing you this document, but so you have director, pre-production, production, post-production. And these numbers are the steps that need to happen during each one of the phases. So in pre-production, this is number 1, 2, and 3, but then you'll notice it jumps to 9. Well, that's because the screenwriter then takes over and has to do a bunch of stuff in pre-production. And you can see here, log line treatment, plot diagram, etc. Now, another component of this document is, who do you work with when you're doing this thing? So the whole team, the whole film team has to decide this. The director is responsible for it, but it's the whole team that's really thinking about it. That's why it falls under their category. The director is doing it, but again, they're consulting the whole team. Now, step 2 here, or whatever, write the feeling or film goal, the director and screenwriter would work together on this. And so you would have that there. And then brainstorming, mind mapping ideas, director and screenwriter, again, would work together on this. And again, resources are over here. Now, we have screenwriter that does their stuff in pre-production, production, and post. Cinematographer is busy in pre-production doing all this stuff. And again, you can see who they're consulting with or working with on that component. So they're not just working solo. But if it doesn't have anything in this column, that means they're doing it. They're making the equipment checklist. Boom. That is their job in pre-production to get that thing ready. And then production, film the scenes. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And there's other resources we could put in here, other requirements that we have. We can make this thing as big as we want, but trying to keep it simple is also part of the process to make it usable for the students during film production. Then we have the sound designer and the editor. Now, another component to this document, this spreadsheet, is if you click here down on the bottom, it has a breakout for each role. Now, I have 2 different options here. Here's what the director does. So you could print this off and just give it to the director and say, here's what you do for each phase of production, for pre-production, production, post-production. And same for all the other roles. And that's how this works. I upgraded it to bring in the IB material that needs to be a part of it. And again, these can be printed as single pages. So what happens is when I go into this mode and click here, it's going to show me, possibly here, I'll wait for this to load. It has to be formatted properly. You can see it's not actually doing what it's supposed to, but I can get 1 page for the director, 1 page for the cinematographer, etc. And then they would have that as a checklist. So this format is the whole thing so that we can see chronologically who does what. Um, and then the steps are for each person to have their own checklist, each role. Now, what I've done is created one of these documents for each one of our major media areas. So we have one for film, video, we have one for music and sound, and then we have one for game design and animation. And the idea is, who are the people that are on the team to make the game or to record the song, or write and record the song? And what are their roles? What are their jobs in pre-production, production, and post-production? That's what we need to decide as a group. And so the August dates are for us to work just in our media-centric areas. So all music, audio people would work together, and we would go through the different roles, who does what, and when, and just kind of spend an hour or so working through the list. And it would just be a jam session of like, oh yeah, write that down. Okay, now write this down. And then I can continue to edit it and work on other pieces. I think this will be more constructive to get to a checklist approach of a workflow that students will go through to make the choices they need to make the story that they're trying to create. So that's what we're going to do in August. And that's it. One other thing is take a look at the August dates between the 19th and the 23rd. I'm targeting 6 to 7 p.m. And what I want to do is one night per media area. So maybe on Monday night, it would be the film people from 6 to 7. And you can virtually just be on the Google Doc. This document right here, you have access to this now, or you will have access to it. And so you could be at home just working on it. But what we would do is have you Google Chat in so we can hear you, and everybody's voice would be heard. And it doesn't matter where you are. We can hear you, and then we'd all be looking at the same doc. And then as we're talking through it, we just add in material. So it's a pretty cool and simple process. And again, you can be remote and work just as effectively as if you're in person. And so I'm guessing a lot of people are going to want to just stay where you are, be on your computer, have this document over or open, and then we can just verbally kind of go through and brainstorm what should go in these lists. That is it. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to getting emails back so we can confirm some dates between the 19th and 23rd. Have a great Sunday.